It says, okay.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Hi, friends. Today we have, including me, I think we have around 6 people and seventh one is also joined. Hi, Mr. Advani. Hope it's not an odd time.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, namaste. What's the time?
Sorry, I just managed to wake up from sleep again.
Oh God. Sorry. So,
All right.
really, I think it becomes a major challenge.
Yeah.
Last class we talked about continuous learning, what are the technology trends in digital learning and things like that. Today we'll continue. We'll talk about standards of learning and evolution as per your module 5. No, I need to talk about evolution. In today's class also, see what happens is I'm trying to reinforce your learning through some audio visuals, because I was just, when I was preparing for this class, talking about, to a non-technical person about SCOM, about AICC, about CMI5, about XAPI or tin can, and all these kind of things. What happens is, these things are, if you honestly ask me, you need to know, but not to the extent of being a business manager, or rather training and development manager, a functional manager, rather than a technical person. So I was just wondering how I should, take this subject to you and give you some insights which will be somewhat non-technical. So what I thought was, I'll give you a broad overview about what these standards are, and then run you through some interesting audio visuals, because I was going through a lot of, audio visuals available in the public domain. Then I thought some of the interesting audio visuals will definitely help you to, understand the concepts better. Because what is it that you need to know as a training manager? See, if you are a training manager in a corporate training function, you will have to create, learning content. You will have to ensure that learning contents are created so that they are portable onto a platform, onto a system, on a learning management system, and the people are able to learn. And if there are some common programs which are to be done. So in fact, what happens is, if you are a corporate training guy, there are some departments to whom you would want to know common subjects. You want them to know common subjects about the company. And to those guys specific to a particular business unit, you would want to give them inputs pertaining to that business unit. So the common subject also will have to be across the business units, and specifics are to be only to the business unit. So when you have to design programs of these kind of things, you don't have to, every function need not have to run around and keep on porting the system onto their learning management system, and to ensure that the learning contents are nicely managed, the program is nicely monitored, the learning metrics are properly picked up. There are certain standardized ways in which the learning, entire e-learning as a project has to be looked at. So in today's class, what we will do is, we will try to know about a little bit about history of e-learning, and then we will try to see how these standards have come up, and we'll also see how e-learning is, a learning management system overall is going to be beneficial to an organization. So when I was just planning, I decided that I will supplement whatever lecture I am giving you. I'll talk about a concept and try to show you an audio visual, because what happens is, as I thought I'll use this particular process of adult learning, where, even if you pick up a few points and remember the visuals, so you will be in a position to, reproduce them in your examination, and it will be easier for you to, understand the concept and put some points in the answer sheets that would be relevant to the questions that are asked. So I thought about it, and that I hope, if this module, last time also I did show you a few audio visuals of interest. I hope last week's class was interesting, and you enjoyed.
Yes, definitely, sir. It was very interesting. Yes.
You enjoyed the lectures supplemented through audio visuals. In today's class also, I'm going to do that. I hope it goes well, because For the last almost 3 days, I was contemplating, should I rush through a lecture session? Then it occurred to me, because I had been a non-technical guy who became a techie for 6 to 8 years driving technology-based projects. And every time I used to deal with people, they would ask me, what is it that I should understand as a layman in this particular concept that you are talking about? So when you keep on asking that question, even for the last 3 days, I was only thinking, this is what I should also ask myself before I prepare myself for your class. So we will just go through the presentation, and I will also supplement my inputs through some audio visuals that will reinforce the learning. It is, we can talk about reinforcement learning. You're all going to be training professionals.
Sir,
So
do
we
you play
will
polo?
try to use that methodology to have a very robust learning in this next 2.5 hours that we are going to have.
Sir, I have a question. Do you play polo?
Pardon?
Do you play polo?
You saw my T-shirt and saw US Polo. This is a standard brand which is available wherever you go. I just thought, to make myself fresh, I just had a quick
I
bath.
see you wearing polo T-shirt.
I play
Okay.
cricket. I used to play cricket. I hung my the last match I played was in that Andhra Pradesh, the Vizag Stadium, in Petroleum Sports Promotion Board Veterans Team, when I was 15 days close to my 60 years. So once I turned 60, I decided, no, I don't know. My wife was more concerned that I shouldn't get injured, so I stopped playing. That's how it is. Okay.
Sorry to deviate.
That's okay. It's we'll just go through the 1 minute. Today I had I thought to break the monotony, I'll just change a bit of my presentation mode. Yeah, is my screen visible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll get into the show mode. I think that should be fine. And we are going to talk about we were talking more about digital transformation. In fact, how a digital transformation is impacting the corporate lives. And in fact, businesses around the world are impacted through digital transformation is what we said. Now, concurrently, wherever a digital transformation is going to have an impact, that impact is huge is what we also talked about. And learning and development also is not an exception. Learning and the impact of digital transformation in learning and development has come in the form of building e-learning systems, building online learning systems, building digital learning systems. And that has really transformed the world, especially especially during COVID. We all had seen that e-learning was the only thing that was in progress, and the learning and development domain across organizations across the world were heavily dependent on e-learning and online learning mode. And when you have an e-learning platform as robust as it can be, and it is a requirement for every corporate and every business house, then around normally the people who develop certain learning management systems also come up. And along concurrent to the learning there are two things which we have to know. Whenever you have a learning management system, which will help you to track learning, post learning, and things like that. And you also have a content management system. Now, like we have a language, I am communicating with you in the language of English. Similarly, the learning management system and the contents need to talk. The content management system and the learning management system need to talk, so that the learner and the person who is going to train the learner, all these people are able to effectively manage the learning and create value out of the learning systems. Now, Having said that, these things cannot happen if everybody has their own ways of developing a content and developing a system, because unless there is a standardization, you need to have a standard for everything. Unless you have a standardized process around content development and learning management system development, the learner and the trainer will not be in any position to drive the training programs, e-learning programs effectively, and the contents. And if the systems are not if there is no standard, then across organization or between organization or among organizations, it will become extremely difficult for the learning management systems to pick up the contents and project it to those people who are in need of those contents. So today we are going to talk about what are such standards around e-learning. So we will talk about e-learning history, and we will talk about AICC, Aviation Industry Computer-Based Training Committee, and then standards of SCOM, WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and other standards called IMS, Common Cartridge, CMI5, XAPA. These are all some of the learnings. Let me tell you, gentlemen, normally when you as a training manager only needs to only understand how a training what is it that you need to provide as a content, and how would you ensure the delivery of content in a manner in which it will be easily assimilable, it will be easily taken in by the learner, and how would you track the progress of the learners, and what kind of metrics do you want to have. These are certain things you need to know very clearly. Once you things, and once you feel that these things are to be correctly picked up, all the technical people who are experts on these standards will tell you, I'll give you this kind of a standard in which your contents can be developed and uploaded in the learning management system, and that will be compatible. Because what we are looking at is, in the long run, when you are changing the learning management system, it should the contents again, you don't have to develop contents. And when you want to have certain metrics to be tracked along the training, as the training progresses, your standards should not become a problem for you, that you need to develop newer metrics and newer methods on which you can port your plans into the learning management system. So these kind of things, in order to avoid such things, you have a lot of standards that are built. We will be seeing those standards also to the extent possible in a non-technical manner. I wouldn't want anybody of you to use a technical jargon, when you are talking about these kind of standards. To the extent possible, I have limited myself to a non-technical way, because that's what is the need of the hour. You are not techies, you are not computer engineers, you are not IT professionals, you are not hardware engineers or any developers. You are business managers. Functionally, if I want for my job, what should be the standard? So I should know that there are a few standards to do my job, and it should fit in the best standard, and the technical fellow will explain to us the standards. You will be familiar with these standards, and you will be able to tell them that this is my requirement. Given this requirement, the best standard, you say for example, if my problem is a fever, I go to a doctor, and the doctor says, if he gives me a small medicine which is available as an OTC drug, that is the doctor's expertise. Or if he gives me an antibiotics, that is also a decision of the doctor. But all I need to tell the doctor is, this is my problem, and you provide me a solution. And when the doctor talks about antibiotics and OTC drugs, you know broadly what an antibiotics is, what an OTC. That is how these standards are. You are expected to learn about these standards. Any questions? Are you clear in what I am articulating, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when we talk about successful e-learning, what are the key? One is, there are different types of contents. You need to vary the types of contents that you are going to deliver. And you need to create interactions through an e-learning program that will engage the attention of the learner. See, what is more important in an e-learning environment is you need to have contents that the person will be very keen to know. And you also need to create interactions that engages the attention. You need to have, a system that will provide immediate feedback. See, normally, if you think that when you are doing an e-learning program and the feedback has to come at the end of every module, for all you know, you will find people losing their interest. I recall, I would have done several courses, e-learning courses on different platforms. You can, if you go through my LinkedIn profile, you'll see a lot of e-learning. There was a time when I was very keen to, pursue this e-learning because it was a new thing. And if I have to talk anywhere about e-learning, unless I know what e-learning is, unless I go through the experience of doing courses in e-learning, I will not be in a position to talk. So I have seen one of the best e-learning platforms is Coursera. If you go to the Coursera and do some courses in Coursera, they have, the way they have a video of a faculty talking about the subject, and immediately they will have questions and they will know where you stand, your mark sheets, your progress can be tracked consistently. And they will also have a test and they will immediately say how you have performed. You need to take the test again, or it will always say where you stand, what is the minimum pass mark for this particular module, and they will make you to go through the module. Some of the questions will be real tough questions depending on the course. I have done a few IT courses on Coursera. Very interesting. More than the course, I was fascinated by the way Coursera tracks your, the learning health, and periodically prompts you to do certain things. Classroom, then they give a project, they will say you respond to this, and then they have some questions which you need to submit within a month. You have your own self-paced learning. And what happens is they will also say they will tell you put a question to there are some peer learning. That is when you put a question, there are other learners along with you who will respond to you. And similarly, you also have a set of faculty members who will respond to your questions. To make an e-learning program successful, you need to make sure that the learner get engaged. If the learner is not engaged, then the learning program will never be a successful learning program. Therefore, how you should do is, some of the contents, you can't just have a simple contents coming in a line or in a para. You need to have contents, where suddenly you will find some flash popping up, some images coming, and try to make sure that your learning is, you try to see what is going to be the next, rather than saying I'll continue my program later on. So this kind of, aspects which are to be built around the training program is what makes an e-learning very, very engaging. And an engaged learner is always a very successful learner. Then what people do is when you talk about tools for engaging e-learning, you need to have, why I'm giving you these things here, when you develop an standard, there are several standards for putting these kind of inputs into a training module. And these standards are what we are going to see today. Now, when you talk about tools for engaging e-learning, there are hotspots that link. Suddenly, when you click that, it will take you to some other external link or a file or an image. Then suddenly you will find the image going, and the transition effects. When you try to put a PowerPoint, you do a transition effect. Then suddenly you will have a question popping up. As you are going through the learning, one question will come, and it will have a multiple choice. Could be possibly a multiple choice question, and you will have to select the right answer. If you do not select the wrong answer, it will say, go back to this, from this time onwards, you again read. And it will give you a time element to read, and then again, you will have to listen to that video or whatever lecture session. Again, you will have to answer that question. And then suddenly you will find some nice flash and shock wave files. They occupy more space, and they are sometimes the challenge. And then, of course, there are scripts. They're all technical developer based, API softwares. and you have a common gateway interface scripts, and then other effects that make the objects react to users' action. Whatever you do, see, what it means is you have things in the form of a text, you have things in the form of an image, you try to prompt a learner to look forward to some question, and you try to make that guy think to respond to the question, and all these things give a learner a feeling or an experience that will help him to learn and retain the learning. See, what happens is in a classroom, the professor talks and walks away, whereas in an e-learning environment, you have time to go through the modules again and again, and then have a reinforced learning. You can validate the understanding by again going through it, and that facility is available in e-learning. But for a person to get engaged, the contents have to be lively for him. I use the word lively because all these tools which fit into some standard of content management, and some standards in which a content is managed, developed, and ported onto a learning management system, you need to have some tools, and there are several tools to keep the learner's interest alive. And I'll just show you an interesting audio visual that will reinforce what we have talked about. Just a minute. I'll come to that.
This is Mary. She is worried about her KPI this month.
Is the image visible on the screen? Excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah, is the image visible? A lady's caricature. Is it visible?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, now visible.
I'll play this.
This is Mary. She is worried about her KPI this month. Still, she has to go to her company's annual one-week sales training in New York. This is Mark. He pays out again and again to teach his sales team how to offer product updates to their clients. Mark faces a decline in sales every year when his team is out of the office studying hard in New York. They are studying hard, right? Well, Mark, we have some bad news for you. E-learning, which means learning delivered electronically, can totally overhaul this entire situation. And it takes just 2 steps to launch e-learning in your company. The first step is to create engaging online courses and quizzes. For the second step, you upload courses to your learning management system, or LMS, and assign them to learners. Employees can take these courses from any device, and you can easily track their progress. There are different forms of e-learning to choose from. Synchronous learning is, for example, a webinar led by an instructor. It needs all the participants to be available online at the same time. Asynchronous learning allows learners to access information whenever they need and to be more independent in their learning process. Blended learning is a mix of synchronous and asynchronous formats. This approach is even more flexible and can be easily molded to any learning goal. In micro-learning, all materials are split into short and easy-to-digest learning bites. Employees can take 5-minute courses on their mobile devices anytime they need. Virtual reality in e-learning allows learners to develop skills while gaining experience in a risk-free environment. E-learning helps everyone achieve their goals quicker and easier. Now, Mark doesn't pay for transport and accommodation for his team and instructor. It takes just a few days to launch a new training program. And Mark now knows exactly how well Mary has studied. And Mary has started selling more and was even promoted, as she spends more time working, not training, retains information better, and can always refresh her knowledge. Well, here is Mark again. He seems to be much happier and more successful now. He chose the right way to develop his team and the right tools for e-learning. iSpring.
And this is a short video about how e-learning benefits the people. And with this, we will just go on to the next, part of our presentation. What is an e-learning? What is the history of e-learning? We just, e-learning started cascading itself aggressively, I would say, with web. Before web and after web, that is www, that is internet. We were talking about an internet age where e-learning also started galloping. And prior to e-learning, people were traditionally, even if you look in our country, yes, Mr. Kulkarni. You had asked a question, Mr. Kulkarni. Hello.
What how is the experience of e-learning?
Hello.
Where the learners,
Pardon?
do they participate actively?
Sir, your audio is not. You need to unmute yourself. You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I have unmuted. Am I audible?
Yeah, now you are audible.
Okay, what I am asking is how has been the experience of learning? Learners participatively.
How had been the experience
Like in the same way, now we are learning.
Okay. Okay.
And it depends on the person, candidate. So just the last session we observed that the facilitator have bifurcated us in the breaking rooms and nobody responded it properly. So what has been the regular experience?
See, if you ask me, when you talk about e-learning, it is directly a function of how engaging a session is. Now, when you talk about, now we are into, let us say, we are into technically an online session. I wouldn't say that we are into an e-learning session per se. Yes, it is electronic learning, but I would say this particular session, which I am having with each one of you, is an online learning session where I am the facilitator sitting right in front of you, and you are the participants learning. Now, every participant, when he sits in front of an online faculty, knows, would ask himself a question: what's in it for me? If that particular question gets answered, saying that yes, if I sit through this particular session and and I learn, I am benefited. And now, when you feel that you are to be benefited, you need to also feel that you need, you will be a part of an engaging session, whether it is an online session or it is an offline session. Even in the classroom, if the faculty is in a live classroom, if the faculty has a breakout session, I have seen 90% of the participants, just 10% of the guys will do the work. 90% of the guys will just be passengers, or they will be giving some sort of an irrelevant input, or many people will be a little disengaged. I would put it this way. Not all are like that. It will be wrong on my part to say that, because unless a participant is kept engaged, if a session engages a participant, irrespective of whether it is an e-learning, an online session or an offline session, if you go to, even if I now have a breakout room, unless I go to every small room where the small participants discuss a particular topic, unless I visit them and keep them asking pertinent questions which will trigger their thinking ability, and they start doing it, these kind of programs will not help. And there is no point in blaming the e-learning system per se, but it is the it is the I would say, as an adult learner, the learner's responsibility to make use of a platform to learn. I would put it that way. I won't say that the faculty has to. That is why we always keep saying that in an e-learning program, See, in a live program, the faculty is around, people are around, everybody can be seen in flesh and blood. Here we can see only, in a 14-inch screen where the faculty keeps talking. And in a breakout room or, the small room where people keep syndicate discussions, then the faculty will have to keep going to that room and asking. Or if he leaves it to themselves and says, you come back after 10 minutes, everybody will come back, and the output or the deliverable from that engagement, that small syndicate sessions, when you try to consolidate them in a classroom, to my mind, it may not work, because I have seen this. Because and very, very many times what happens is most of the participants, now even if you take this class, it is mandatory for every participant to attend the program. So what they will do, I also do not know how many of the participants have logged in, and they have just logged in to say that they are also present. So these are certain challenges with respect to e-learning program, because in a classroom session, live classroom session, that students are sitting right in front of the the faculty, and the faculty can see that the students are physically present. But again, how well they are engaged with the faculty and with the knowledge that is being imparted to them is again something to question. It all is learning, as I told you, whose responsibility is learning? Learning is the responsibility of the person who has a desire to learn something. It cannot, and therefore, having said that, we cannot therefore say that whether the platform is going to play a role. Platform definitely makes a difference. And an e-learning platform, the more you make the contents engaging, the more in an online environment, the more the faculty makes the participants comfortable. That is where the success lies. This is my view. Anybody would want to contribute to this? Hello, Mr. Kulkarni.
Sir, sometimes you might have connectivity issues as well, no?
No, technology issues are extraneous to the learner and the trainer, and learner and the subject also that is being learned, on an e-learning platform. That is, like we said, no, synchronous learning, asynchronous learning. Then you have
earlier we used to excuse about the digital divide, but nowadays it is not so. Like Chandru is mentioning about connectivity. Now it is a little lesson.
Yeah,
Now I'm traveling from Thane to Jabalpur and I'm attending this session. So this is one of the benefits. My question was like this. As you have already answered, is actually how to keep people engaged, keep the participants engaged, and how to convince them even before they start the session as about WIIFM. What is in it for me? And that is the crux of it. Thank you very much.
See, that is the point you have rightly articulated, Jagannath sir. Because unless we know, unless the student, and I always believed in this, because I had been at the forefront of corporate training, that also transformational training for 3.5 years. I have gone through people, and it is, I always tell, the onus of learning is with the person who has a desire to learn. If I don't have a desire to learn, it becomes, yes, Mr. Kulkarni.
Like I always give the example or story of that what we can say woodcutter. Training is like sharpening the saw. Yes. If you sharpen your saw, you will be able to cut more number of woods in the lesser number of time with lesser number of energy. True. And you can save on your ETM. Energy, time, and money. So this sharpening the saw, importance of that needs to be inculcated among the participants so that they will be remaining engaged with the training.
True. See, it is 90% you're sharpening your axe and 10% chopping the tree. That's what it is. So preparation is very important. And when you talk about preparation is equally important for the faculty. For coming to this class, every day, almost, in the last 4 days, I would have spent a lot of hours. One is putting through the content, because you have a course module. I need to space my content in line with your course module. Even if I'm giving a little more, it has to be aligned with the course module, because here it is not the knowledge that is being shared. It is knowledge that is being shared for you all to take an examination and get good scores. That is another objective with which I have to address these sessions. I cannot keep on talking about whatever. Is it not?
It is minimum 4 times. Even I want to take any lecture, I spend at least 4 times time homework before
Ah,
delivering any lecture
so
so that it
if
will
I have
become
to,
effective.
that's what, if
Yeah.
I have to lecture for 2 hours, I need to spend minimum 16 hours to think through, not about the contents, about the delivery to keep people engaged. I am telling you, in a classroom, you get to see the people. In an online session, to keep people engaged, the faculty has to keep on thinking about how we can go about that. It's very important. Anyway, as we continue with our session, we'll talk about the history of e-learning, and in 1728. In fact, this is a recorded number. In fact, which I could call out. This is based on the information picked up from archives and from those other places, and I aligned it to whatever your modules all stated. I am just running through them. But in between, I'll show you some audio visuals, which are the defining moments for e-learning. No, the first time in 1728, when there were hardly any computers or anything, the university people, basically learning and all started from the education industry and gradually moved to corporate. And the e-learning development, let me share with you, was more from the defense perspective. Like, anything, or most of the management principles also stem out from the requirements of defense. And your operational research came, post World War. And any management principle, if you do a research, the root cause of such a principle could be a requirement from the defense sector. You will find that. And here also, in while the education industry started the learning programs on a digital platform, it was US state defense which set a lot of good standards in learning management journey. And to begin with the e-learning history, e-learning, the precursor to an e-learning was a distance learning, like today we call correspondence course. In those days, this distance learning was started to people who did not have time to attend the school, people who did not, and who could not attend the classes. It was very difficult for them to, they were working and they had to bridge the employment and learning, through this distance learning courses. So that is how, in 1728, the first distance learning program was started in Boston. And then in 1920, after that, you just see 200 years, almost 200 years later, this electronic device called the automatic teacher was given in Ohio State University. In fact, this particular automatic teacher was nothing but a machine which would give multiple choice question. You have to answer that, and then only it will allow you to go forward. It was also a crude way of teaching. Nevertheless, in those days, that was another exciting technology. And as if you see, the first almost around 300 years, if you look at, the efforts came from US only. The first distance learning came from US, then the electronic device came from US, and then the glider, the teaching machine, which was put up by Skinner, a psychologist, that also came in 1954. See, if you see, from distance learning to electronic learning, it took them 200 years. And from electronic learning to another advanced electronic machine, it took them 30 years. And then the first computer-based training session was from University of Illinois on a training session called Plato. Plato stands for Programmed Logic for Automatic Teaching. That is what teaching, programmed logic for automatic teaching operations is what is known as Plato. And they started it in Illinois. And it was the first computer-based training where a few computers were kept around and then teaching happened. And then when you, in 1966, then you had computer managed instructions in schools. Again, Stanford only started. If you see, the entire growth chain and the cascading, that it happened from USA. And these guys really started, propagating e-learning, they started leveraging technology over a period of time. to to the e-learning principles. Then in 1968, IBM 500 machine was used for teaching online. So online teaching started in 1968. It was in a medicine department in the University of Alberta, USA. And then what happened? The defining moment happened in the year 1969 when ARPANET set up the internet, a very significant technology in the learning history. What is ARPANET? Can somebody say? Hello? Any idea about this ARPANET?
No, sir, no idea.
They were the forerunners, front runners. See, Tim Berners-Lee started the internet, is what they said. Even before Tim Berners-Lee is a student of Oxford University. He was and he started the internet. The WWW, World Wide Web, and other things were from that guy. He is credited. But ARPANET is one. They were the precursors to the main internet, as we call it. I'll just show you an audio visual, which will be self-explanatory for you to understand what this, because it's a defining moment. I'll just show you that. Here, this is a very interesting
Al Gore may not have invented the internet, but you can thank.
Are you able to see this?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Okay.
The United States military for it. That's right, you can thank the US government for Tinder. The US government helped create the internet. Here's how. 1957, 10 years into the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. The battleground was technological superiority, and Americans had the upper hand. That is, until the Soviets launched the Sputnik 1 satellite. In response, the military created the Advanced Research Projects Agency, or ARPA, to develop new military technology and put America back on top. The US military was worried a nuclear first strike from the Soviets might wipe out their communication system, leaving the US unable to respond. So they set out to create a protected emergency system. They established computer research centers at leading scientific universities. But computer scientists needed to connect these geographically separate systems so that they could share research and information. In 1966, the ARPANET program, headed by Larry Roberts, began work. On October 29, 1969, the first message was sent across the ARPANET from UCLA to Stanford. UCLA student Charlie Klein started typing login and typed LO before the system crashed. In 1970, the Network Control Program was released. The network expanded from 10 smaller computer networks, or nodes, in December 1970 to 15 nodes 4 months later. By 1972, there were 19 nodes linked together on ARPANET, but it still wasn't used all that much. Each host computer essentially spoke a different language, and most users only knew the language of their own host. ARPANET needed a way for the computers to talk to each other, so scientists began meeting to discuss both technical and philosophical aspects of the network, and formed the Network Working Group. In late 1971, the first user-to-user email was sent and mailing lists spread across the network. By 1973, email accounted for 75% of traffic on ARPANET. Meanwhile, other networks were being built around the world, but they had no way to talk to each other. So in 1974, Robert Kahn and Vince Cerf presented the Transmission Control Protocol/Internet Protocol, or TCP/IP, which acts kind of like a handshake that introduces distant computers to each other, and it makes today's internet possible. But the internet of 1974 still wasn't something just anyone could use, until Tim Berners-Lee created the World Wide Web in 1989. So while Al Gore may have been the first politician to really support and promote awareness for the internet, its invention came long before, and it would not have been possible without the pioneering researchers and hackers who knew computer networks could do more than launch a counterstrike.
That's it. You could get the idea about how ARPANET was the one that started the concept of internet in the world.
Yes, sir.
This is a very interesting story about how in 1969 this ARPANET wanted to have different computers in different universities to talk to each other to bring their technological development. And this is a defense project of US that was a forerunner, I would say, that even before internet was started by Tim Berners-Lee in 1989. Now, after 1969, the first remote online community, the college was opened in US at Open University, at a place called Open University of US. Now, in 1980s, Mac facilitated learn from home concept through their Macintosh machines. We all are aware of MacBooks, Macintosh machines in those days is what it used to be called. And in 1983, Electronic University Network and Online Education Network started. So the first Electronic University Network, which was an online education network, was launched in 1983. And after that, in 1989, we had internet. Many of you would have seen the story of internet. Would you like to see an audio visual on this internet? Because it's very important. I thought I'll get you to see that also. 1 minute. It's very important. Pardon? It's very relevant because these are the defining moments for the evolution of e-learning. 1 minute. You able to see?
Yes, sir.
1 minute. Yeah, can you see this screen, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
A life without the internet. Can you imagine it? No, me neither. So often referred to as a network of networks, the internet completely revolutionized the communications and computer world we live in today. The internet is the world's most popular computer network, originally created in the 1960s as a way for government researchers to share information. But as PCs were immobile at that time, laptops had not yet been invented. To make use of information stored in it, researchers would have to physically travel to the site of the PC to access it. Unimaginable in this day and age. It was, in fact, the Cold War and the Soviets' launch of their Sputnik satellite in 1957, which prompted the U.S. Defense Department to invest in ways of developing such a communication system, one which would allow information to flow, even in the event of nuclear attack or a war. Though it took some time to get here, the official birth of the Internet was January 1st, 1983, and it quickly went on to become a global commercial network in the 1990s, spanning the world and even reaching out to space. Today, the Internet is used by almost 5 billion people worldwide. As of February 2022, China was ranked first among countries with the most Internet users at 1.02 billion. India was second with around 658 million, and the USA third with less than a third of China's figures, 307 million users. What is ironic is that though China has the highest number of users, not all of the Internet is available. Many sites like Google or social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, are blocked in the country. As for India, despite having the second largest online market in the world, 50% of people have no access to the Internet. You name it, it can pretty much be done on the Internet. Most traditional forms of communication, telephone, radio, television, tabloids, have all been reinvented by the birth of the Internet. Internet television, email, online music, social networking, mobile applications for everything under the sun, online banking and shopping, iGaming, e-commerce, the list is endless. Thanks to the Internet, it is a digital age we now live in. Plus, with the invention of smartphones and Wi-Fi, the Internet also became available to people on the move. Wi-Fi was first released to the general public back in 1997, making Internet connectivity wireless through transmitters and radio signals. Prior to this, the Internet could only be accessed via physical LAN cables. Nowadays, we hear users often cursing poor Wi-Fi connections, as we have all come to expect a certain degree of connectivity wherever we go. Imagine how slow or weak it was when it was first introduced. It's come a long way since the dial-up. Right now, and for the last 20 years or so, social media has been the buzzword on the Internet. The infinite possibilities of connecting with family, friends, ex-colleagues, even strangers over the net have changed the way we operate and communicate. The next big thing is IoT, the Internet of Things, which is often labeled as smarter than the Internet. This is where more and more ordinary devices connect to the Internet through advanced software and sensors, and exchange data to assist in controlling their functions. For example, security systems, home appliances, and even cars. Imagine a fridge that automatically connects to the Internet to order food when you run out of items, or turn on the water heater when you're on your way home for a hot bath. Now that is something I could definitely get used to. Where do I sign up?
Internet, that's the power of Internet. And we'll just move on with our session. So Internet redefined the way technology was leveraged in the world. And today, our entire digital transformation, closer home, talking about our own e-learning, it is impacted through digital
Not audible, not visible.
Sir is rejoining. Please stay.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, gentlemen. Again, the suddenly the machine switched off. It started rebooting. Anyway, that's not. I'm using a Microsoft Surface Pro machine through which I'm projecting. Sorry, my sincere apologies to the team. We'll continue with
Sir, will you
just
please
with
explain about the IoT, Internet of
yeah.
Things? Why, and for what we are using this term? Thank you very much.
Very, very simple. Internet of Things is what happens is you have signals, coming from the user devices. Say, for example, I'm having we used to have Internet of Things. Your Alexa, your any machine which is connected, interconnected is an Alexa. Is an Internet of Thing. Normally, in industrial applications, I would say today, industrial applications are immensely using Internet of Things. What happens is that on an online basis, signals keep coming from suppose you want to track a vehicle. The vehicle has a few, electronic gadgets from where data keeps moving. And at any point in time, you will be able to track the vehicles. Your beautiful Internet of Things is tracking your, ships and aircrafts live. It is happening through IoTs because signals keep getting captured. Nowadays what happens is your manufacturing setup, your internet of things keep telling you signals about, suppose there is a pipeline, oil pipeline. Even if there is a small dip in pressure, you will be able to capture that, and you will be able to know that there is something wrong which is happening. A pipeline is tapped, you will get to know. Similarly, your refrigerator, you have a simple refrigerator which has to which has a small device that keeps on pushing up signal. When your inventory level of your food in the refrigerator goes down, automatically it will send you a signal, please re-indent the food, and the food level has gone down in your fridge. These are small things where the entire world is full of IoT devices. I'll just show you something which will, let me see if I can show you something which is really interesting about IoTs. And I'll show you how IoTs are put to use, and you have 1 minute. We talk about, yes, yeah, here is
Our top strategic technology trends are trends that organizations can't afford to ignore.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll just show you one top technology trends where Gartner has identified that in this world. I do not know whether I showed it in the last class. If it is showed, you just let me know. Otherwise, I can show you this Gartner's top technology trends. Here, you can see this. These are the technology trends where IoT is one of the things.
These trends will have a significant impact over the next 5 years, and most organizations are not adequately factoring these into their strategic planning today. Nevertheless, each has significant transformative potential. The first trend is the Internet of Behavior, or IOB. The IOB consists of multiple approaches to capture, analyze, understand, and monetize all kinds of physical and digital representations of behavior. And analyzing this collected data can be used to then incent behavior. For example, IOB can be used to monitor health protocol compliance at an industrial site to capture behavioral events. Sensors or RFID tags on a person or in the environment can be used to determine if employees are washing their hands regularly. Computer vision can be used to determine if employees are complying with mask protocols. And then speakers in the environment can be used to warn people of protocol violations. The second trend is total experience, which links multi-experience, customer experience, employee experience, and user experience, creating a more unified approach. This trend solves complex business challenges by transforming the human experience. For example, in response to COVID-19, one company created an online appointment system and integrated it with the company's app. When customers are within 75 feet of the store, they receive a notification to guide them through the check-in process. Employees then are able to use their tablets to co-browse with the customer and guide them without physically touching the customer's device. The third trend is privacy-enhancing computation. Privacy-enhancing computation is actually 3 types of technologies that protect data and enable secure data processing and data analytics. The first provides trusted environments to process and analyze sensitive data. The second performs processing and analytics in a decentralized manner and includes federated machine learning. The third transforms the data and algorithms before processing or analytics is performed. With all 3 of these approaches, private data is not exposed. A real-life application might be multi-party data analytics, where organizations pool their data for joint analytics without providing access to each other's underlying data. The fourth trend is distributed cloud, which is the distribution of public cloud services to different physical locations, while the operation, governance, and evolution of these services remains the responsibility of the public cloud provider. This allows organizations to have cloud computing resources closer to the physical location where data resides and business activities happen, but these services are still maintained and updated by the public cloud provider. One use of distributed cloud is to ensure that data remains in the geographical location in which it's mandated to reside. Distributed cloud is the future of cloud. Our fifth trend is anywhere operations. Anywhere operations is a business and operating model designed to reach customers anywhere, enable employees anywhere, and use digital technologies to deliver business services anywhere. It requires a digital-first, location-independent mindset and delivery of distributed infrastructure and applications. Several banks are addressing this trend with mobile-only remote presence. For companies with physical presence, anywhere operations might mean contactless checkout for customers at a store, or the use of sensors in an office or factory setting to enforce social distancing. The sixth trend is cybersecurity mesh, which is a distributed architectural approach to scalable, flexible, and reliable cybersecurity control. Many assets now exist outside of the traditional security perimeter. Cybersecurity mesh essentially allows for identity and the location of a person or a thing to define the security perimeter. It enables more modular and responsive security approaches by centralizing policy and orchestration in a distributed policy enforcement architecture. The seventh trend is intelligent composable business. Organizations driven by an ever-increasing pace of change must adopt a mindset that emphasizes composability based upon modularity, autonomy, orchestration, and discovery. It requires an architecture that enables better access to information, the ability to augment that information with new insights, and a composable modular data and application framework that's built to accommodate change. For example, a retail bank can identify trends in customer behavior and quickly create new business services. These business services might include a reassembly of existing package and custom application services to create these new services. The eighth trend is AI engineering. AI projects face issues with maintainability, scalability, and governance today. AI engineering will give organizations a pathway to deal with these issues by making AI a part of the mainstream DevOps process rather than a set of specialized and isolated projects. It brings together various disciplines to tame the AI hype while providing a clear path to value when operationalizing the combination of multiple AI techniques. The ninth trend is hyperautomation, which is a business approach where organizations rapidly identify, vet, and automate as many approved business and IT processes as possible. Business often has extensive and expensive business processes that are supported by a patchwork of automation technologies that are oftentimes not optimized, lean, connected, consistent, or even explicit. This hinders the path to digital operational excellence. The idea is now to automate as many of these processes as possible using a variety of intelligent automation technologies in a coordinated fashion. These are the top strategic technology trends for 2021. They combine to help
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
I had shown you a clipping on the latest strategic trends as projected by Gartner. What it talks about is how the entire world is getting automated and data gets picked up online so that you are able to on the fly have analytics with you in a secured environment. This is precisely what your Internet of Things provide. You get, you hook, you put small devices in various, be it your refrigerator, be it your air conditioner, be it your car, be it your vehicle, at every touch point of your life, you have devices that can be hooked onto your mobile smartphone, and you can capture information and get these things to help you to develop analytics on an online basis that would help you in planning your activities for your business or for your home. If you have an equipment which will tell you that your house, your lights are not on, or as you are coming home, you will want to have your lights on, and you can use on a remote from your smartphone. You can switch on the lights at home. It gives you a comfortable living. This is possible because of Internet of Things. If you have a washing machine which you do not know whether you have switched it off or not, then you have a system by which on a remote way you can talk to your washing machine and switch it off. That's your Internet of Things. If you want to track your vehicles, you have sent supplies to some customer, you want to know where the vehicle has reached, that can be done using an Internet of Things. And these are the devices which are used to create online experience in terms of managing your business and information, and it will help you to build beautiful analytics. Normally we use analytics, see patterns, and every 2 minutes you will keep on getting signals, and you have information on the flow about whatever domain of interest that you have. This is what you do using an Internet of Things. We will now continue with our session. Just a minute, I'll just switch it on. In fact, this digital program is so interesting that I always get fascinated. This was something which has redefined the way we live in this world. Now we talked about internet. We talked about Internet of Things also, how it can beautifully help you to progress in life with information on the tips by getting your mobile hooked on to several devices around you. And then you have in 1994 the first online school started, and it was in 1995 that this learning management system began. And this term e-learning was coined in the year 1999 by this gentleman called Elliot Massey. He is credited to coining this term e-learning in 1999. Then thereafter, the first major open courseware project was started by MIT in the year 2001. 7 years later, this term called MOOC. Today we talk about MOOC everywhere, massive open online course. You have your, this was started in 2008. In fact, your Coursera, your Udemy as they call it, they are all massive open online courses that are, in fact, in 2010, Udemy, one of the world's largest online platform, course platform, it was found. And then in 2014, we found 98% of public colleges and universities offering online learning programs. And in 2020, when COVID hit the world, the entire world started realizing the importance of e-learning, because they had no choice. People could not come to classrooms and they had to go through this e-learning courses. That is, my friends, about the history of e-learning. And today, e-learning has come to stay. Anybody has any view on this e-learning? When I say e-learning has come to stay, any views on this, participants?
No, not only e-learning. Now we have even started e-examining also. Even our these PGTD exams, they are conducted online, and to my immense surprise, even our actuarial science examinations, they have started from these May examinations on online home-based examination. So much things are saved, travel time, energy, money, in travel cost and everything. It's really amazing. I mean, not only e-learning, but now e-examinations are also started.
True,
so it's a great revolution.
I'm telling you, it's a
yeah, and they are using webcam and other things, and they are taking the due care. And what happens in case of professional exam? examinations, people usually do not follow any wrong practices. So that is something understood and then they follow it. But actuarial science examination, that was amazing. I have come to know about this yesterday only. But this was really great revolution. Thank you very much.
It's a damn good. So in fact, the more I start looking into this digital transformation, I get floored because the technologies are. If I talk about one technology, I am I am required to learn about 10 new technologies which have come in. By the time I learn about technology A, some other technology also comes in. It's a big challenge for the developers. Yes, Mr. Kulkarni. You raise your hand.
But the only fear among the people is whether the people will use the people skills. That is one sort of fear that is among the trainers and whether the people will use the interpersonal skill and so on, because they have got no opportunity to meet up the people, talk with them, learn and listen to the body language and so on and so forth.
And
that is one part where we find the fear. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Yes, it's a fear. Now we will move on to the next session of our learning journey in this class on e-learning standards. Now, yeah, that is there are yes.
Sorry, sir. I just wanted to request. Your PPTs are not showing anymore.
Oh, you are not. My PPTs are not showing anymore. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Yes, please tell me. In case, because I'm not in a position to know. Now, is it seen?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet.
Now, yes. Yeah. Now, yes.
Now it's seen.
Yeah. Now, yes. Yeah. And just have to put it in the PowerPoint. Yes.
Yeah. Is it okay?
Yeah. All good.
Yeah. As we move on, we are going to have e-learning. We'll talk a little bit about e-learning standards. What are these standards? Now, when there are one is an AICC standard, and other one is other set of standards are ADL initiatives. Now, what is an aviation industry standard? Now, I will tell you why this standard. First of all, what is so great about standard? Like, you have a learning management system. Okay. A learning management system is something which is developed by several vendors. There are about 8 to 10 different learning management systems developed by several parties. And these parties say that I have a system. Now, you have many of you must be working on ERP system. Hello? Many of you in your organizations may be using ERP system, right?
Yeah, we are organizations are using, but I'm not exposed to such.
Okay. Now you also have HR information management system for human resource management. Okay. HRIMS, human resource information management systems. Many HR companies also have HRIMS. Now, lot of all these things, what these IT vendors do is they will design a system which is generic in nature. Say when you talk about ERP also, you have JD Edwards, you have SAP, you have a lot of ERP systems that are floating around in this world. Now, when you talk about an ERP system is generic in nature. Now, when you want to, similarly, there are a lot of vendors who make learning management systems. Now, when a learning management system is made, you need to have, you need a discipline in terms of contents. Now, suppose I am developing a program on, I have to develop a learning management content for this training program, let us say digital transformation. Now, I develop contents. Now, these contents, I am putting it in learning. I purchase a learning management system. These contents need to be ported on the learning management system, and the learning management system should be able to talk to these contents. And you learners, when you are learning about digital transformation, will have to have access through that learning management system to various contents. And the trainer, if I am the trainer, I want to know how your progress is having in your e-learning courses. Now, I have developed the contents. There is a learning management system available. I put these contents in the learning management system, and you are the learners who are leveraging the learning management system and accessing the contents. And I am the trainer. From the back end, I need information about your progress, health of learning and health of the content. What are the things that are happening? Now, how will I make the learning management system robust enough and my contents robust enough that these two will talk to each other and make your job of learning easy and my job of training, tracking the progress of the students easier? For this only, there are standards established. Similarly, if I am having my contents developed and I am putting it in LMS given by vendor A, now I want to use the same contents for another program to be used by vendor B. Now, if my contents which I have developed are in a different format, as per a different standard, how will I be able to use the same content in this separate LMS? Similarly, I have another challenge. I have two departments in my company. I want, I have developed some 10 chapters for department A and 3 chapters for department A, which are specific to them. Similarly, in department B, I want 10 chapters of common to be used here, and 3 chapters I want to specifically design. Now, if I have a learning management system which cannot talk to these two departments, if it is not helping me to access the common contents across the departments, then I have a challenge. Therefore, what happened when learning management systems were formed, concurrent to that, they decided that they will also have standards developed based on which the contents will have to be developed for porting onto the system and having accessibility to various types of users. You got my point? Why these standards were built? Hello? You have been able to understand what I'm saying, gentlemen?
Yes, you're talking about the alignment of training content, right?
Yeah, learning management system with the contents so that they can have a common language to talk to one another and be useful to the people. Now, the first such standard, which was very popular, was developed by Aviation Industry Computer-Based Training Committee. This was formed in 1988 to address the challenges of increasing cost of multimedia training material. So why this is from aviation industry? It has got, in aviation industry, if you look at, in fact, I was SBU head for aviation fuel business of Hindustan Petroleum for a period of around 3.5 years. And this aviation industry is a highly SOP driven industry. You cannot, even compromise 0.1% of the SOP which is approved. Because aviation industry, any activity within the aviation sector, unless you have a very strong compliance to the SOPs, this industry, you will not be able to survive in this industry. You will not be able to be a part of this particular industry. So, and they have periodic certification programs, periodic, training. The learning is very, very continuous. And there are mandated learning hours, there are mandated tests, all these things, you right from DGCA to Airports Authority to various bodies, DGQA, all these bodies have very, very strong and robust, knowledge and skill building processes, so much so that there is no room for any error anywhere. Whether it is an aircraft or the supporting business around an core aviation flying business. So this aviation industry was requisitioned to develop standards, And so they developed standards of building e-learning material for managing the e-learning content material and porting them onto the learning management systems. In 1988, this was the committee, AICC was formed to address the increase. See, what happened was the training materials had to be developed separately for every program, every department, every group. So they wanted to put all the training material under some standard and develop them and keep it so that the learning management system was able to understand how to pick up the contents, where to pick up the contents. And you have to define, what is the file name? You have to define what is the data file, what is the image file. All these things you need to interlink it, and then you have to drive it. So these standards of developing the contents and uploading them or making them available through the learning management system was first developed by Aviation Industry CBT Committee. So this early on, they initially focused on materials that would be delivered by CD-ROM. In those days, if you have that CD-ROM technology which was available today, nobody, even if you ask our kids, they will not even know about what a CD-ROM is. But as the technology changed, the formats also changed. Then gradually what happened, you have a HTTP-based protocol that included JavaScript and other API interface. The technology changed basically. Then from a simple standalone system, they moved on to the HTTP-based protocol, which included interfaces. Then what happened was, thereafter, the committee's work was basically, it was ultimately produced what is widely regarded as the first set of e-learning standards. This committee came up with strong standards once this e-learning platform moved on to the web-based, e-learning systems. And what this guidelines allowed the content that met AICC standards to appear across multiple LMS platforms. In fact, the distributed, distribution of the content across the LMS platforms was possible if the contents were developed as per the AICC standards. And without the set of standards allowing this kind of shared function, today we may not have any e-learning environment. Now what happened? In 2014, the AICC officially dissolved due to a decline in interested members. This, AICC standards declined, but these standards were the foundation for development of advanced standards, including many modern LMS platforms. Now, the cross-compatibility revolutionized e-learning and standardized the creation of positive experience. That is how you have what is today known as a SCORM compliant LMS content systems. And then you also have XAPI or experienced API system standard, or tin can standard as they call that. Then they have what is known as a CMI standard, CMI 5 standard, which is nothing but as a offshoot from XAPI. Then you have WCAG standards. Then like this, you have that cartridge. These are the standards which came subsequently, but the first standard was, Aviation Industry Computer Based Training Committee. CBT means computer based training. So Aviation Industry CBT Committee standards were the first set of standards that were introduced for e-learning, and thereafter other things started. Would you want to have a short video on AICC? Shall I show you a small?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
That
sir.
will give you a small insight, because you can pick up a few points and that will be very useful to you all. 1 minute. I'll just do that. I'll show you that, because I had culled out these inputs so that we can you will be able to get a good insight about it. 1 minute. Can you see the hello?
Yes, sir.
You can see the
Hey guys, great to
Yeah.
see you again.
Yes.
Today we are going to talk about what is AICC. So if you are in the world of online learning, if you're in the market for an LMS, and specifically if you operate in the US, you will come across AICC regularly. It is not necessarily a standard that is used outside the US, but certainly in the US, it will be common language to those of you who've been in the learning technologies industry for a while. So first of all, it's important to get an understanding of the background of AICC because it is on the wane. It is not as pervasive and used as much as SCORM. And perhaps the reason for that is the acronym actually stands for Aviation Industry Computer-Based Training Committee. So you can see that this standard, again, which came from the US, in the same way as SCORM did, was particularly formatted or particularly clarified for the aviation industry. So outside of that, it's not something that, is used with regularity. And certainly if you're looking for a next generation LEP, Learning Experience Platform, or a next generation learning management system, it's likely that AICC won't come as standard, yeah? So it is more the legacy or installed systems that might use AICC. So the AICC group was formed in 1988 to really find a way to bring down the costs involved in computer-based training, very much similar to SCORM. SCORM arrived, more or less at the same time as AICC, and the idea with it is that if you can build AICC into your learning platform, then you get a standardized way of reporting, just in the same way as you do with SCORM and XAPI. So think of it kind of like a USB port. Anyone can create a device which they want to interact with a computer, but they need to allow that device to basically communicate out. So that's really the way AICC worked. So it's a specification that the content needs to have and also the actual learning platform itself. So both of those need to be compliant in order for the report to spew out of the other end. So in terms of being compliant, AICC, you may find that some learning platforms are not wholly compliant and they might say, I'm partly compliant. So there are 9 guidelines within AICC. In order to be truly compliant, you need to comply with all of those 9. So it's important to understand, do you need all 9? And it's important to understand that, partly compliant is not fully compliant. And if it is something, if all the 9 are, issues that you want to ensure are reported on, you need to make sure that they are specified as fully AICC compliant in your RFP or in your purchasing process. So the future of AICC is somewhat on the demise, shall we say. So in terms of a recent software device article, this basically surveyed 150 learning and development professionals who detailed the technical standards that they were used to. And certainly from the RFPs and from the purchasing processes that we have got visibility or have been to, we can corroborate this as well. So 62% of respondents use SCORM. 23 of respondents use AICC, but again, this is only in the US. So this is not a common standard that is asked for if purchasing is coming out of either Europe or Asia. This is really only in the US. And then 15% of respondents use XAPI. So we are seeing the shift of balance. ACCI is moving away, XAPI is coming up, and SCORM is going down. So that's what we're generally seeing in the market. So if you are looking for a learning technologies solution and you're outside of the aviation industry, I would suggest that it's SCORM and XAPI that you should be looking at rather than AICC. In December 2014, the AICC group was officially dissolved, which means that the standards, although they are still there and they are still relevant, they are not being updated and they're not being invested in. So this is another reason why maybe the shift of focus should be towards SCORM. And again, I've done a video on SCORM or XAPI. So I hope that was a brief overview of ACCI, and I hope it's helped situate some of the things that you might be thinking of when you're thinking about how you're going to report on your online learning.
Got an idea about AICC, gentlemen? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
See, that's why I was thinking that, initially I will talk about the topic and then get you an audio visual to see, which will help you to, learn about which will reinforce your learning. No, we said that AICC was the first, standard which was introduced for e-learning. But thereafter, interestingly, what happened, people, once this closed, there is another protocol called, SCORM. If you go and ask, see, why do we talk about these things? You are an L&D manager. Tomorrow, when somebody is wanting to sell you a learning management system and you want to put your learning contents into that system, they will say that, sir, my product is SCORM compliant. My product is XAPI compliant. My product is CMI 5. It can take CMI 5, standards. When they talk about these standards, that means the contents which you are developing should be in line with that. And when you are calling a content development company, you should tell them that I have got an LMS which has got this particular standard. And so you need to develop contents which will meet this particular standard. That is the reason why we do it. And now, after AICC got dissolved, now what happened? This SCORM and XAPI and all came up from what is known as Advanced Distributed Learning Initiative. And this ADL initiative is a US government program. And this US government program essentially revolves around, they contact outsiders, they contact agencies, and they tell them to develop, standards that can be applicable alongside. In fact, the defense, one of the reasons why they got into the act was a Navy department and the Army wing of defense wanted to have programs which were common for both of them, but because of lack of standards, they had to redevelop the contents. So these kind of anomalies made them feel that they should have some, research. They should invest in research and then come out with, contemporary standards that will be utilized across, given the requirements of the e-learning domain. So this ADL, Advanced Distributed Learning Initiatives were taken up by the US government. I will show you one audio visual which will talk about ADL initiatives, and it will talk about, we'll also see some audio visuals on SCORM. Can I move on to the audio visual on ADL?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you should be you should be able to appreciate. It's a short video. Is it visible to you?
Yes, sir.
You can, it's just a short video. Have a that's the small audio visual on what ADL does. Now we'll move on to the next part. You know, the ADL, one of the ADL's major initiatives was SCORM. SCORM, you know, standard. It is, SCORM stands for Shareable Content Object Reference Model. So that is what SCORM is all about. This is, you know, once AICC started getting dissolved, they, you keeping the foundation of AICC, SCORM really was developed to add more features so that your learning management system and, as a overall project becomes more effective in terms of picking up the contents. Now, SCORM is an international standard for e-learning courses. Now, when you are dealing with these technology vendors, they will say, "Sir, I'm selling you an LMS platform which is SCORM compliant." Or a SCORM seller will come and tell you, "Sir, I can develop all your learning contents which you are having for your courses in SCORM compliant formats, so that any LMS in the world you can put it, and it is LMS. Most of the LMS comply with, take SCORM based standards, and therefore I can develop all your contents accordingly, and you will be able to track your e-learning program successfully." That is what these vendors will do. But as a development, as a learning and development manager, you will know that, okay, fine, there are certain global standards which are to be complied with when you are managing contents and to be ported to the LMS systems. That's how you need to know about it. And rest of it, the techies will take care. All you need is you should be more knowledgeable in how to, design, make the program engaging. Putting it on a technology front, whether it is SCORM compliant or AICC compliant or XAPI content, you have a lot of parties to do it. You don't have to really break your head on it. You need to only know that whatever LMS your company is having, that LMS should be able to read your contents, and that LMS should be able to read SCORM compliances and SCORM compliant, XAPI compliant, CMI compliant inputs. That's what it is. Now, SCORM is an international standard for e-learning courses. In fact, SCORM is a list of technical requirements. They will say when you are trying to put e-learning courses, it has to be SCORM compliant. This list tells you how to make a course that will work on any platform. And there is a detailed description of the e-learning course structure and principles of its interaction with them. There are a lot of SCORM developers in the country. They are all experts, and they will help you to design your contents as per SCORM compliance. And if your course is published in this SCORM format, you can be sure that almost any learning management system will recognize it, whether it is a Moodle or any other package that you are talking about, LMS system. SCORM stands for Shareable Content Object Reference Model. That means let us break it. Shareable Content Object means SCORM packages are designed to be easily shared and reused across different e-learning platforms. That means if I am designing SCORM, I am designing a leadership program. Let us say an e-learning leadership program. I am a training organization. So you all, let us say a group of learners, 12 learners, and there are 10 participants, including me. All the 10 of us form a company. And we form an e-learning company, and we design courses on leadership program, let us say. Now, the program is developed. Now, when you talk about shareable content object, I am selling my program to company A, which is having a learning management system A. Then the same leadership program, I am selling it to company B, which is having a LMS B. I can say that I have developed a SCORM compliant leadership e-learning course that can be utilized by company A, company B, company C, company D, which are having different learning management systems in their companies. So that is called a shareable content object. Second thing, reference model. Reference models are the rules, which act as a reference that everyone will follow. Such specifications maintain consistency across the industry. That is because it is a standard rules which everybody will follow, and it will have a consistent learning across the industry. Now, how does it work? Content packaging. One is all the learning materials for one course will be put into a SCORM package that contains all the information that a learning management system needs for importing and launching that content. So once the moment you put a SCORM package into the LMS system, it will the LMS will pick it up, it will understand, it will know what is the content, what is the question, what is a document, what is the name of the document, what is the database which you have to capture on the backend. Everything will be there in the content packaging. Then runtime communication. This runtime component will be responsible for exchanging data between the learning management system and the content. That means it will track the delivery. That is what it will do. The content finds the learning management system and they communicate through get and set calls and the corresponding vocabulary. Simply put, these things are like ask the learner's name and inform the LMS that the learner scored 80% on this quiz. So these are the kind of things which the runtime communication happens. Then third thing is sequencing. It relates to how learner navigates through this SCORM. For example, it directs how a user moves after performing certain actions, like hitting the next button. Yes. Pardon, Mr. Jagannath?
No, I was not disconnected. I just asked whether the break was. No, sir, I got disconnected. Now I have reconnected. Sorry.
Okay, you are able to see my charts, no? Are the students able to see my chart?
Yes.
Yeah, and sequencing means it will tell you what is the one after the other, the natural flow of the activities that have to be completed is also how a SCORM works. And next is the benefit of a SCORM format is one is any LMS will recognize a SCORM course, a course defined as per SCORM standards. Second thing is a student doesn't have to go through the whole SCORM course at once. That means he can set his own pace of learning. That is very, very important. Even if the system fails, you can start from where you have last left. That's what happens. And then feedback. So you will be able to assess the student's feedback. That means when a guy completes a SCORM course, the system will show how many points he scored or the status course completed will be displayed. Then it will have a clear course structure and set rules for moving between its sections. For example, the learners may need to study a lecture first, then watch a video, and only then they can go to the test. So it will not allow you to go through an examination without completing the requirements of a course. The course requires that you need to attend a lecture session, watch a video, and then take a small mock test before you go into the test. It will tell you everything. Similarly, modularity. In the SCORM course, the training materials consist of standalone units or modules. Each module can be used in any other course within the LMS. Within the learning management system, the modules can be used by any other course also. If you try to map the course, map the module to the course. These are the flexibilities available in when you design contents in a SCORM format. Then what you can track with SCORM, if your LMS takes contents in a SCORM format, one is lesson location. The lesson location it can be tracked. Then lesson status. It will tell you whether the learner succeeds with the course or not. There are two versions of SCORM. It is SCORM 1.2 version and SCORM 2004 version. There are two different, and in each of these versions, you can track, the lesson status, whether the status, whether it has been completed, it is complete, incomplete, not attempted, unknown. These kind of things are built into the system because they are SCORM compliant. And whether the party has passed or failed can also be tracked. Now, session time. The session time also can be tracked by SCORM system. Then it can take a score raw, the raw scores. It reflects the performance of the learner relative to the range bounded by values of score minimum and score maximum. In a nutshell, this is a score that the learner achieved for the module. So you can track the scores. Then you can also track the mastery score. That is, it is a passing score required to master the module. So you can, if your contents are SCORM compliant on an LMS, these are the benefits you have. Now you can also have interactions. Learner interactions data provides information on how learners interact with the course, including responses to the questions and choices made. Then again, it sets a sequencing and navigation. The course builder can set a rule that prohibits a learner from taking a final test. So you can set rules saying that unless I complete all the modules, I will not be allowed to take a final test. I can also set tests after every module. And if he gets a minimum score in each module only, he will be able to move to the next module. Until then, I can even stop permitting him to go to the next module. These are the certain sequencing and navigation rules which you can set. So SCORM contains a lot of files. They have an XML file. They have the schema definition files. And there are several files which SCORM contains. They're all technical in nature. You can just, all you need to know is they have certain files that can be used to identify the various tasks and activities. That's what it is. Now, what it means to be a SCORM compliant? SCORM compliance means adherence to the industry standard for communication between e-learning content and LMS. SCORM compliant authoring tool means you can create a SCORM compliant course and then publish it to any SCORM compliant LMS. The course will play on the multitude platforms without requiring any adjustments. These are the advantages of SCORM compliant. Now there is a concept called SCORM wrapper. A SCORM wrapper is nothing but a set of files that make it possible for a learning management system and your learning content to communicate with each other. Simple. It will, you develop contents, you just wrap it with a SCORM wrapper and make it easily understandable for the learning management system to read, access, and communicate with, between the content and the system. That's what is called SCORM wrapper. Of course, the next is an X API. Before we talk about X API, I want you to reinforce your understanding through a small audio visual on SCORM. Is it okay? Shall we go ahead, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because I have,
Yes, sir.
no, I have given this, concept of reinforcement because I felt that the subject is a little heavy and some more audio will be in a position of giving you, will help you to have a better understanding.
Definitely, sir.
That's the reason why I have chosen this method of conducting my session. 1 minute. Here, there's a short reinforcement video.
When researching learning management systems or
Can you see the image?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll play this.
creating e-learning content, you will probably come across this acronym. SCORM. What is SCORM? No, it is not a group of supervillains plotting to take over the world. SCORM stands for Shareable Content Object Reference Model and is an e-learning standard that is over 20 years old. Back in the year 2000, the US government was growing tired of all the e-learning contractors using their own unique file types to create e-learning modules. They decided that it would be easier if everyone just used one standard to create e-learning modules so that they could ensure compatibility with any learning management system that they would design or purchase going forward. And with that, SCORM was born. So what does a SCORM module do? If you think of a SCORM module as a shipping container full of e-learning lessons and content, the LMS is the boat that the container goes on. When a SCORM module gets loaded into an LMS, it communicates usage data with the LMS. For example, if a learner logs into an LMS and takes a specific course that lives in a SCORM module, that module will set the success criteria for the course and then communicate if that criteria is met to the LMS. The benefit to having a set standard like SCORM for e-learning modules is that when one of those modules is loaded into an LMS, the administrator can be confident that the course inside of the module will work and that the data the module shares with the LMS will align with how the LMS collects data and shares it with administrators. How is a SCORM module created? SCORM modules are a product of creating e-learning in a third-party content creation software such as Adobe Captivate or Articulate Storyline 360. The e-learning course, with all of its interactivity, videos, and textual information, is built in the software, and then when it's finished, it is saved as a SCORM module. The software adds some files to the package that make sure it communicates with the learning management system, and then the finished SCORM module can be uploaded into any LMS that is compatible with SCORM. And these days, most learning management systems are compatible with SCORM because the standard has been around for quite a while. This leads us to our next question. What is the future of SCORM? From a software perspective, SCORM is a very old standard, and there have been different versions of it over the years. And to be honest, SCORM is probably nearing the end of its life as an industry standard. New e-learning module standards have been created in recent years that surpass SCORM in features and functionality. Some of these new standards are XAPI, Tin Can, and CMI5. The benefit of these new standards is that they gather more data on the learners that interact with them and give LMS administrators more freedom and flexibility when it comes to tracking and reporting on their learners' activities. Just by the nature of the standards being newer, they also take advantage of current software trends that just didn't exist when SCORM was first introduced. While new standards are taking SCORM's place in the e-learning world, there is a ton of SCORM content out there, and so you probably won't see SCORM vanish overnight. It will most likely just fade out of existence until one day you won't see learning management systems that support it anymore. But don't feel too bad for that old SCORM standard. It has lived a long and full life as software standards go.
Was this
30 years ago,
you could was it useful, this small video reinforcement video?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Kulkarni,
What I wanted to ask, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether every organization will have its different standard,
No.
or what?
No, normally what happens?
Mentioning about the SCORM.
No, normally what happens is, I will tell you, contents are developed as per SCORM compliant. If you develop contents, see contents, how do we do it? See, the technology guy doesn't know about your contents. Contents are to be designed by you. You define. Say, for example, if you want to define a content for simple program of digital transformation, let us say that there are about 5 or 6 modules. You talk about digital transformation. So these contents are developed. Once the contents are developed, then you call this SCORM expert and you tell them that these are the contents I have developed, and he will help you to make the contents and digitalize them, because you know the subject, but to make it engaging to the participants, so you will call people who are very creative to make the content in such a manner that the contents become very, very interesting. Then you add periodic questions, multiple choice questions, discussion points, and all these things you want. You have to decide all those things. Then this SCORM fellow will come and he will make your entire contents as per SCORM compliant, wrap it with a SCORM wrapper. You are able to see it on my screen, right? A SCORM wrapper. And then he will push it into the learning management system. From there on, the learning management system will take, and it will deliver and track the whatever you want to be delivered and tracked from the participants, and you will get to know backend analytics as to how the people are performing, how they are learning, and that is how it will be. And the learning management systems are available in different companies that may be from different vendors. But every vendor who has made a learning management system will ensure that since COM standards are to be fulfilled, the learning management system will be in a position to read the SCOM wrapped learning content, and it will deliver whatever you want as a training manager. That's how it is. Clear? Hello?
Yeah, let me reconfirm. Two things that are coming to my mind. One is the official website of any organization. Now,
Okay.
organization will be having the different departments. The different departments will be giving their respective information to the web designer. So, can we consider this as the SCORM?
No, not. See, web designers are different.
No, just I'm giving the concept.
No, you can conceptually, yes. Information is given. Conceptually, the information is, basically, see, it is the training manager's passion. And normally what we do is a training manager is coordinates with the concerned functional department and calls the experts and tells them, how do you want this course? He says, I want this content to be developed. Then these questions to be asked, these videos to be shown. In between, while the people are learning these contents, we will have to pop up images and all for discussions, ask a question and take an answer. In between, all these things have to be done. Then you call an expert, this SCOM expert, and call him and tell him, these are my contents. Please develop it on a SCOM standard, under the SCOM standard, and then he will give you back. Then you will have to upload it on the, or he will help you to upload it on the learning management system that is available in the company. So then on the learning management engine will start working. That is how it is.
Okay. Just I want to share what our organization has done. They have started one similar LMS called Jnanapit. They named it as Jnanapit.
Which company?
It is the Life Insurance Corporation of India.
LIC.
And LIC. Various departments are there, maybe new business, underwriting, some technical, some non-technical, some maybe personnel related, some maybe other office upkeep related, so on and so forth. And they developed some 100 plus modules into that. And employees are encouraged to read that module and then answer the questions, and they will be given the online certificate also. You have completed this module. So this is can we say that this is the type of SCORM?
Yes, you ask I tell you, you ask the concerned technology team, what is the learning management system on which these modules are put? That means everybody will have to go into a login and password and enter and then ask, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
What I suggest is, hello, can you please, there is some noise coming. Now what you can do, Mr. Kulkarni, you talk to your people to find out what is the learning management system that they are having, and what is these course contents, are they SCORM compliant or XAPI compliant? You ask them, they will tell you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. That is the best way for you to reinforce your learnings, I could say.
Exactly. Thank you.
Now the next platform is a development, it is a further improvisation on SCORM that is called XAPI. This is a learning specification that makes it possible to collect data about wide range of experiences a person has within online and offline training activities. And XAPI's use of shared format for both receiving and sending data makes the specification an ideal tool for, what XAPI believes, they have two elements within their specification. One is a statement and the learning record store. Then statements, dictate the format for specific learning activities, and the learning LRS is where API statements are stored, and its portion of the spec defines the communication method for sending, receiving, and requesting data. That these are the two core technical details pertaining to XAPI. The benefit of using XAPI is many e-learning standards can only capture digital experiences. Now, XAPI enables you to track experiences that happen in many different environments and systems. XAPI has the flexibility when it comes to structure of statements, allowing you to track what is most important to you. This is an, I would say that improvised version of SCORM. What XAPI believes, the XAPI system is designed on the hypothesis that learning is not an action, it is a result, which means experiences matter. People learn in many places, do many things. Applications facilitate learning in vast and varied ways. The Experience API makes it possible for all these activities and experiences to be collected and shared and to be made more relevant for the learner. By making all the types of activities trackable and shareable, relevance is built in wider markets and dissimilar applications. Experience API helps us to do that. That means it captures learning from everything. See, importance to everyone. An Experience API, what it does is makes the learning experience you provide more important. The learner's interactions with your tool are communicated through the API in a way other systems can make sense of and build on. The combination of learning experiences across many tools is a greater sum than its past. What it does is it captures information and from different sets of information, and it picks up and collates. That means the sum of the parts is greater than the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. That's what it means. Now, experiences matter with the Experience API. XAPI, see, people have been learning everywhere. The internet, software, apps are the great source of learning. These activities are trackable and quantifiable. When people do non-routine work, learning is inevitable. So XAPI is the communication standard that supports collecting and tracking. Wherever an employee goes and learns, it picks up that data and provides you in a system holistically what an employee's learning experience has been. And that is what it makes. What I will do is I will show you an audio visual which will again help you to reinforce your learning. Is it now visible?
Yes,
Hello? Just you can go through.
No, sir.
Pardon? Yes?
Yes, visible.
It is visible, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll just show you this audio visual which will reinforce what I have spoken.
Let's suppose you have a universal language. You can speak to anybody, anywhere. But this language has a tiny vocabulary and grammar. You can always talk, but you can't say very much. In the world of electronic learning, SCORM has been that universal language. For more than a decade, it's been the standard for online courses. It's wonderful, assuming you're satisfied saying very few things. But consider this. Of all the useful skills you've learned, how much can be verified by SCORM records? SCORM does its small job well, but it doesn't capture and record most of your learning. Your experience is far deeper than a collection of browser sessions. This is precisely what the authors of SCORM sought to correct. Understanding the value of a universal language like SCORM, yet trying to incorporate the many ways you learn, they've developed the Experience API. It's also called the XAPI and the Tin Can API. Why three names for the exact same thing? I don't know. That part will have to remain a mystery. In any case, whatever you call it, this new learning language introduces powerful possibilities at the same time that it raises some questions yet to be answered. Let's think for a moment about Experience API. What's an API? Forgive the jargon, it's just a way for devices to speak to each other. Programs, gadgets, anything digital can listen or talk with an API. And experience? Because even though SCORM will still be here for a long time, this new language can sit alongside SCORM as an eventual successor, one that captures more of learning experience than SCORM ever could. If you read the official docs, The Experience API is all about activity streams. All this means is that it can describe any kind of ongoing activity, and it assumes you have an archive that the gadgets and programs will talk to. It's called a Learning Record Store, or LRS. It could stand alone, but it's more powerful as part of a mature learning management system. Think of it like this. You have a learning gadget, maybe an app on your phone. When you learn something, it tells the LRS. Sounds like SCORM. But SCORM only says, Jack completed course X with a score of 50%. An app with Experience API can say that too, but it can offer any level of detail about how he took the course, and the learning object doesn't need to reside in an LMS. Imagine how you could improve your training if you could see, click by click, where students stumble or grow frustrated. But Experience API has more to offer. It allows any kind of message that says, somebody did something. And you may add details about the context, the results, and the authority of the sender of the message. It's clear why these options may be needed. Bob failed hang gliding means something very different when you consider context. With care and planning, this new tool can be used effectively. Experience API promises to allow self-reporting of achievements. It could build a personal portfolio. A designer can record screenshots and other details of her projects. A team member can record his contributions. And in many ways, it goes well beyond SCORM. One restriction is that with SCORM, you can only record an activity that it is prepared to hear. The Experience API can define its words at the same time it sends them. It's extremely flexible. Also, unlike with SCORM, your gadget or app only needs occasional internet connectivity. Learning can now move to the mobile device or remote location, and it can take advantage of any feature on your device. If your learning uses the GPS or gyroscope of a tablet, it can record that learning activity in detail. If your device is specialized to an occupation or task, the Experience API adapts to it. Conversely, this raw power can also be a problem. We use words inconsistently. There are many ways to say the same thing. Whether learners finish, complete, conclude, or accomplish the training, their records should look the same. And the definition your device sends with your message isn't enough. It still requires interpretation, or the data is incoherent. Learners might also be too selective or inconsistent in their reporting, and they might lack self-awareness. You would hesitate to combine self-reported achievements with data that's impartial and authenticated. Experience API is a universal language that describes your learning experience and can be understood with a depth of understanding unthinkable with SCORM. However, to be effective, it will need to be used properly, with discipline and planning.
Could get a better idea about this. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Enjoyed watching this clipping? Got a broader idea?
Sir.
Now, the next standard is a CMI-5 standard. Now, CMI-5, again, these are all initiatives by that Advanced Distributed Learning Project initiative of US government. Now, the CMI-5 is an extended version of XAPI profile that provides rules for how online courses are imported, launched, and tracked using an ELMS system and XAPI. It is, it was designed with the intent to transition from SCORM to XAPI specification. So it is sort of a middleware which will pick up, it will provide rules of how online courses are imported and launched from XAPI, from, using an LMS and an XAPI. That is what it is. The specification uses simplified tracking model that only specifies the key elements for interoperability across most learning instances. They give score, status, and time, but it's capable of recording and reporting on much more. That is, it is a much more elaborate way of handling e-learning, journey, I would say. Now, when compared to SCORM and XAPI, it opens the best of both worlds. It enjoys the flexibility of XAPI, and it also picks up the structure of SCORM, so that it gives you the best of both worlds. Now, why should I use the specification? Your traditional LMS plays a role in many training programs, but neither SCORM nor XAPI can adequately play and track contents across disparate technologies and LMSs. When the technology is different, LMSs are different. Now, where SCORM and XAPI have their limitations, CMI 5 will can be used to launch such contents. In fact, defined content launch, it can the SCORM and CMI 5 have defined instructions for content launch. XAPI does not include instructions for launching content in an LMS. Similarly, SCORM is constrained to a defined set of data elements. XAPI and CMI allow for developer-defined data elements. They are very, very flexible with respect to the technical. These are the technical side of it. Distributed content. All SCORM content must reside on the same server, whereas content can be located anywhere with CMI 5. That means that content being on the same server domain which SCORM demands can be relaxed for CMI 5 and also XAPI to a large extent. Now, data portability. SCORM data is collected and stored within the LMS, whereas XAPI and CMI 5 data can be shared across the systems. You don't have to have it only in the LMS. Similarly, extensibility. Any learning data can be captured with XAPI and CMI 5. LMS uses a conformant LRS, learning record scores, to support both. And when you talk about CMI 5, it establishes the interoperable rules for determining the completion and mastery of learning activities. XAPI has no defined satisfaction criteria. These are some of the, when you compare one system to the other, broadly every system has meets the core requirements, but this kind of XAPI and CMI 5 stretch themselves and move forward. And multiple lesson support is provided by CMI packages, whereas it is with multiple SEOs also, because they are very shared content can be dealt with beautifully in CMI 5 packages through multiple AUs. I will just give you a comparison. I have given a comparison chart. You can see what is the difference between SCORM, XAPI, and CMI. When you talk about content launch, SCORM and CMI 5 have it, whereas XAPI does not allow content launch. Track anything, SCORM and CMI 5 can do. When mobile application, XAPI is compatible with mobile application, and CMI 5 is also compatible, whereas SCORM cannot be put on mobile applications. Like this, there are about 7 or 8 key areas where SCORM, XAPI, and CMI 5 can be compared to, and you will know which one has some features. These are all, I won't say that they are all limitations. Some features, additional features are built for a period of time when the customer needs and requirements are they go up. And these kind of new systems bring in such kind of features. If you see CMI 5, it conforms to all the 9 requirements of a robust content system. Key CMI 5 benefits are: they solve the LMS use case, they support distributed content, they permit devices browsers independence, they allow data sharing, they allow contents to reside anywhere. They only can pull the data from wherever they are, and they control over the pop-ups and exit behaviors, and they fetch data out of the learning record score, and they can display the data during the course. That means your course requires data that was input earlier to be displayed at a later time. This facility is available in CMI, whereas it doesn't. It is not available in XAPI and SCORM. And we will see one small reinforcement audio visual on what is a CMI5 and what benefit it offers.
All right, I'm Andy Johnson. I'm with the ADL Initiative.
Is the image visible? Hello? Hello? Is the image visible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please,
Absolutely.
please, unless you people respond to me, I will not be in a position to know because you are all not showing up. No, that's the reason. Because I'm not able to see your faces. Yeah. I'll just play this.
CMI5 is a profile of the Experience API that enables users to do the same types of things that it normally do with a learning management system involved. And it's nice because it does not rely on knowledge of SCORM nor any sort of SCORM implementation. Knowledge of SCORM is somewhat helpful, but also somewhat of a hindrance in it. So if you're using Experience API and you still have an LMS, CMI5 is what you're going to want to use. Probably that it's more about Experience API at this point. And then instructional designers I really believe that instructional designers can get back to designing with Experience API because you can, with the flexibility that XAPI gives and CMI5 a profile of that, what you can do is you can start tracking actions that you might never thought possible with SCORM. CMI5 gives you that leverage to still track things you might be used to because of SCORM, such as completions and scores, but the fact that CMI5 uses Experience API lets you go beyond that, so you can get back to designing rather than figuring out which bucket different data goes into. So, yeah, and I kind of alluded to this already, but CMI5 it basically takes all the lessons learned from SCORM and brings them up to date with Experience API. And the nice thing is it doesn't have to bring any of the SCORM baggage with. ADL has a SCORM profile that they're doing, but that includes all of the SCORM baggage. So things that you thought might be ridiculous in SCORM, you still would have to do if you were implementing the SCORM profile. CMI5 takes those lessons learned, the idea that you want to get your data out, and maybe that's just the only thing you need is, I want to track data, I want to get it out, no questions asked. You can do that. It takes the lessons learned of attachments and other aspects that you might be familiar with SCORM, but are still important to you, and if you have a learning management system, CMI5 is going to enable you to do that. If we're talking about CMI5 versus the SCORM profile, there are some differences in the temporal model. So, for example, in SCORM, we're used to this notion of I can track something and the last value I leave it with is the good value. So in SCORM, a common practice would be I enter a score or a lesson and I instantly fail it because that's where I want to leave it. I don't want to leave that failed field undefined. So I fail it until I pass it. And at that point, I'm good. That doesn't map to Experience API very well because you're going to look for, if you just query on failed, you will see the failed and you'll say, oh, they failed that lesson. And that's a very reasonable expectation to make. In SCORM, it was not, and it would never happen because you would always you wouldn't know that information until you needed it. CMI5 is not restrained with those types of temporal things, nor the extra baggage of attempts or the notion of suspend and resume, where the SCORM profile really is, because the SCORM profile is an exact replica of the SCORM runtime environment. So while we consider it a necessity to help support those who are still in SCORM, that temporal model, it gets a really kind of weird in some very specific areas. They're both usable, and I would recommend each to different audiences, but CMI5 has a lot more flexibility in ignoring certain aspects of SCORM that, if you're just starting from scratch, really should be ignored.
we talked about CMI. Now there is another, management, another learning, standard called Web Content Access Guidelines. Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. It talks about, the guidelines are four. There are four guiding principles which lay foundation for anybody to access and use web content, because we need to know about Web Content Accessibility Guideline, WACG. It has to be perceivable. That means the user must be able to perceive the information being presented. And it has to be operable. This means the user must be able to operate the interface, and it has to be, they should be comfortably able to navigate. And third one is understandable. The user must be able to understand the information as well as the operation of the user interface. And fourth one is robust. So the content must be robust enough so that it can be interpreted reliably by a wide variety of user agents, including assistive technology. This means that the users must be able to access the content as technologies advance. See, when you are when you are trying to understand Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, it follows the four principles of accessibility. That means it has to be easy to easy to be used. It has to be, and even as the technologies keep improving, one should be able to easily access the contentability. This is what is known as WCAG. So the WCAG has under these four principles, they have laid down some guidelines. Now, how these guidelines are to be, for example, when you want to make it operable, it means that all the functionality should be available from a keyboard, and users should have enough time to read and use the content. It cannot just like that be flipped through. And do not design content in a way that is known to cause seizures. Suddenly it shouldn't freeze itself. And you need to provide ways to help users to navigate, find content, and determine where they are. In fact, WCAG talks about how a content should be nicely developed and ported. That is what it talks about. It says that, whatever you do, it has to be within the framework of being perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. Within the guidelines, you have around 12 to 13 small areas which one needs to focus when they are developing the content. Now, one more standard which is very, very common in use is a common cartridge standard. This common cartridge is an open standard developed by EdTech member community that enables interoperability between content and systems. See, today the main challenge is I have a system and I have a set of contents. The contents should be readable to the systems, and if there are 10 different learning management systems, the content should be flexible enough to be ported on any kind of a system. Now, common cartridge standard solves two problems. One is it provides a standard way to represent digital content, and it provides a standard way to represent digital course materials. And second is it enables new publishing models for online course materials. So these two things are the, it basically solves the problem of new publishing models that are modular, web distributed, interactive and customizable. So it makes everything like, a web conforming contents, and makes it very easy for anybody to port it on a web. It is sort of an open kind of a standard, and it can be used across. And it is a standard way to package and exchange digital learning materials and assessments. And it's a standard way to import and export course materials from EdTech, ECC Learning Management System portal. They have got ECC Learning Management System, and it is also a system which is very, very comfortable to operate on a web-based learning LMS modules. That's what common cartridge is all about. Now, when we talk about comparison in between SCORM, AICT, and XAPI. There are various right from content, learning, result storage. See, what are the features that you are looking forward from an e-learning system? You are looking forward to a good, it has the content, how the content is hosted in SCORM, AICC, and XAPI. Learning, how each one of it compares. Result storage. If you see a result storage, AICC and SCORM store the results inside the learning management system, whereas XAPI stores it in a separate learning record storage. Similarly, track and trace results. It can be, XAPI is mostly independent of the LMS system. It has got more flexibility, whereas SCORM and AICC, with respect to every feature, they are to be ported inside the LMS, whereas XAPI opens the windows to go beyond LMS. That is what the importance of an XAPI is. Nowadays, XAPI is getting more and more popular. When you look at, when you compare AICC, SCORM, XAPI, CMI, and common cartridge as various standards for managing contents, you can see how a CMI 5 is very, very robust. In fact, it is more robust than XAPI is what they say. And but one thing is, in terms of implementation, XAPI is more complicated, whereas CMI 5 is easier to implement. And here is a comparison. When you have to write a paper on how to compare among the various standard e-learning standards, you can pick up some points from these two charts. I just thought I will put these charts for you all to know how it is. You can just go through it and have a comparison among these, the 5 different products. Now, to conclude it, I thought I will give one small slide which will help you to, summarize your entire focus on e-learning roadmap. If you want to build an e-learning roadmap, there are 6 key pillars, I would say. One is you create a learning experience and deliver desired objectives. Then you provide room for reinforcement. You have a benchmarking process to ensure the reinforcement in terms of learning. And then you provide room for practice. In any e-learning, for successful conduct of an e-learning program, you need to provide room for adequate room.
Sir, lost your voice.
Pardon? Hello?
Sir, audible, sir, audible.
I'm not on mute actually. Am I now not audible? Am I audible now?
Pretty audible, sir.
Yeah, I have come a little closer to the computer. That's what I have done. Sorry, in my sometimes I tend to go a little far away from the computer because I keep talking, imagining that my computer is it is a classroom and you're all sitting in front of me. And provide resources for applications of acquired learning. So, you need to provide the learning content has to be realistic. You need to use extensive videos to explain step-by-step process. That's what I have done today. When I was talking to you, I knew that this subject is a little weak. So all I had to do is to reinforce the learning through audio visuals, which would give you, a sequential idea about how the systems are. If you honestly ask me, all you people need to know is what is the LMS your company is having. And if you want to go in for LMS, will the new LMS be compliant, will be able to take on the contents you have? Or if you have your LMS, you need to build your contents to suit your LMS. That is why the standards have to be known to you from that perspective. Ongoing improvement of skills and proficiency is another pillar. And there, scenario-based training and building learning analytics. Learner analytics is very, very important. And then influence behavioral changes. In fact, what you need to do is you need to provide customized learning. You need to provide mobile learning. You need to have performance support tools and all the things you need to provide, so that there is the behavioral changes towards e-learning are influenced. These are the 6 key pillars where, if you have an e-learning, if you want to keep an e-learning roadmap for your company, you need to have these 6 pillars in mind before you design an e-learning strategy and start developing contents for your e-learning programs. I think with this we have come to an end of the session, and I would like to end my session with an audio visual. Do you have time for that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll just
Sure, sir, sure.
Yeah, I'll show you a couple of audio visuals which will be very useful to you, because I'm 1 minute. I will just show you. See, I picked up a lot of these audio visuals so that it will be ready reckoners for you to go through and understand the this CMI 5 I talked about. I talked about XAPI. I'll now talk about I'll show you one audio on what is, WCAG, because that's very, very important for you all to know.
Hi. Is your small business relying on an email inbox to handle customer service?
Agents, including
Hey guys, great to see you again. Today we are going to talk
with low vision.
I will just show you this web content, accessibility guidelines, a small video, because that's very important for you all to know about. It's very critical for your knowledge. Can you see the image? What is WCAG? Hello?
Yes, yes.
I'll just play this video.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What is WCAG and why is it important? An introduction to Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. The power of the web is in its universality. Access by everyone regardless of disability is an essential aspect. In this video, we will present the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, sometimes known as WCAG or WCAG for short. We will introduce the conformance levels and the 4 principles that govern WCAG 2.1. At the end, we will also give some examples of the guidelines in WCAG 2.1. Let's start. Web Content Accessibility Guidelines cover the information in a website, including text, images, forms, and other media. WCAG started out as some basic requirements for accessible content. As needs and technologies have changed, updated versions have been released. Version 2.0 is incorporated by reference into many other standards, primarily at government level. Version 2.1 builds on this with 17 further success criteria, including mobile interfaces, supporting cognitive impairments, responsive design, and supporting users with low vision. The WCAG guidelines are organized around 3 levels of conformance: Level A, Level AA, and Level AAA. Level AA is the most common level specified in government and organizational standards and requirements. It is also the common level specified in lawsuits, settlements, and structured agreements. The guidelines are organized around 4 core principles: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. If any of these are not met, users with disabilities will be unable to use a site or application. Perceivable. Information and user interface components must be presentable to users in ways they can perceive. This means that users must be able to perceive the information being presented. It cannot be invisible to all of their senses. Operable. User interface components and navigation must be operable. This means that users must be able to operate the interface and its controls. The interface cannot require interaction that a user cannot perform. Understandable. Information and the operation of the user interface must be understandable. This means that users must be able to understand the information as well as the operation of the user interface. The content or operation cannot be beyond their understanding. Robust. Content must be robust enough that it can be interpreted reliably by a wide variety of user agents, including assistive technologies. This means that users must be able to access the content as technologies advance. As technologies and user agents evolve, the content should remain accessible. Each of these 4 principles has a corresponding set of guidelines. There are 12 in total for WCAG 2.0 and 13 in total for WCAG 2.1, including text alternatives, time-based media, adaptable, distinguishable, keyboard accessible, enough time, seizures, navigable, input modalities, readable, predictable, input assistance, and compatibility. Each guideline has success criteria which address important access issues that specifically impact people with disabilities. They are all testable and for either A, AA, or AAA conformance level. Let's summarize. WCAG is a standard that defines how to make web pages accessible. It is broken into 4 principles: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. The success criteria that make up the guidelines are organized by these principles. Each success criterion's level of conformance is defined by A, AA, or AAA. Government and corporate requirements generally adhere to AA conformance. Congratulations! You have reached the end of this introductory video on WCAG.
I think you got a fair idea about web content accessible.
Refining begins with a process called distilling. After oil is superheated, it becomes vapor. The vapor is fed into the...
See, these WCAG guidelines are very, very important for us to know. I hope you enjoyed the session. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any questions you have? Hello?
At the
No, sir,
moment,
as
nothing,
of
sir.
now, no question.
Sir, I have a question.
Pardon, yes, Mr. Advani.
So just out of curiosity, we learned all about all these LMS and all these platforms and everything and the e-learning roadmaps and all. So just a quick question about, from the academic point of view, when we have to answer the paper for this, for the e-learning question, what is the most important thing that we need to keep in mind?
Now, if you ask me, see, if you want to respond, see the kind of questions that will be asked, see, you need to know what are the limitations or what are the key features of each standard and what are the limitations of the standards. And you should also, from a non-technical perspective, you need to talk about. You don't have to be very technical about the standards. You need to, from a user's perspective, if you are a learning and development manager, what do these standards mean to you? How will you, as a manager, you have to take a decision. I want to buy an LMS. I have about 1,500 to 2,000 courses in my company. Which LMS will I go in for it? Will I be able to see, for me to develop a content, it's going to be very costly, remember. And if I have an LMS which cannot read my contents which I have developed, then that LMS is going to be of waste. Now, I already have an LMS and I have certain contents ported on those LMS. Now, I want to develop new contents. Now, what sort of, my LMS, my contents should comply with the LMS that I am having. Is it not?
Correct.
So what are the features? Should I go, if I am having and if I am going to upgrade my learning management system, to what will be the impact on my contents that I have developed? So will an upgraded system also be in a position to help me to go through my contents, or do I need to scrap the contents and invest further in developing contents? Correct. These are the managerial challenges that you have. And when I'm going to upgrade my learning management system, then what sort of training I should provide to my own team to have a robust, to have a seamless upgrade of the system.
Right.
These are some of the questions we need to look at, and for which you need to know what are the strengths of SCORM from the perspective of an organization's learning journey. Suppose I want, if I'm an organization where if my requirements are limited, should I need to have a standard which is going to be very, very high and expensive to my company when my requirement is not that much for the next 6 to 7 years, let us say. Is it not?
Correct.
These are the managerial questions you need to think through. Rather than talking about the technology, because anybody is there, today a young, guy developer in 20s or 30s will be able to do a good job for you. We people as learning and development managers, what is our role? My role is to fix a strategy for my e-learning. Have a system that will, have my e-learning contents which will keep my participants engaged and make it relevant to them. And have a platform which is which can understand, read, and which can communicate with my e-learning content management standard.
Right.
For that only we have learned AICC, then SCORM, then XAPI, then CMI5, then Common Cartridge. Is it not?
Correct.
So these are the systems we have learned, and we have also learned web content WCAG. Accessibility guidelines.
So do you think sorry to interrupt, sir. So do you think they will ask us anything about any particular descriptive question about any of these?
They may ask you, how do these things compare? What is what do you understand by what are the standards available? How good are these standards? And these kind of questions may come, and you need to at that point in time know. See, that is the reason why I gave 2 charts in my presentation. If you see how they compare, how each one compares, and what are the features. There are 10 key features which are required for an e-learning system. Against each of these features, how these compare. That means you will be able to answer at least 3 questions using the 2 charts.
Okay, that makes sense.
That is the reason why, when in fact these 2 charts I prepared last night, I was thinking going over and over your modules, and I thought in this particular module, if this question is asked, how would you be in a position to respond? So that, with the minimal, once you go through the PPTs, I'm sharing all these PPTs with, the department, you will get it. Not an issue.
Yes, no issues on that, sir.
Yeah.
No issues on that. Just curious about any form of a case study, maybe using this LMS thing.
In fact, how to see, if they give a case study and ask you to write, you will be able to beautifully write, is what I feel. After this class, my expectation is after this class, you should be in a position to, as a training manager, you should be in a position to, tell the company, that there are these standards. Our training material should have these standards. We should have an LMS system which will be, generic. I am not talking about any company's name. I'm not taking any company's name as to this LMS. You should be, there will be a dime a dozen, hundreds of vendors. But whoever is the vendor should have this side of compliances. You should be in a position to create your own case study. Like Mr. Jagannath Advani, Jagannath Kulkarni mentioned that this in LIC, they have if he goes to that particular department and checks up, he will be able to beautifully get get a response.
Correct.
Is it not? He will be able to get a case himself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right. But the good part is that we should be able to correlate whatever the concepts or terms we are learning in these classes. We must be in a position to correlate. The organization में ऐसा होता है, so they are whether they are using this or they are using that, so that will reinforce our learning. That is what I believe. I keep on thinking on those lines, and even I try to implement whatever is possible within my purview, within my circumference.
There is one I can see
that is the key.
Responses from. I had seen responses from Mayuri Madam, Mr. Advani, Mr. Kulkarni, and all. There's one Mr. Vinod I am seeing here. Can Mr. Vinod comment? Mr. Vinod? Mr. Biswadeep Banerjee is there. Mr. Ganesh Ram is there. Miss Mohini Johi is there. Can somebody respond? Hello? Mr. Vinod?
Sir, nothing to say, sir.
Acha, Mr. Biswajit. Okay. Mr. Ganesh Ram? Mr. Vinod is also here. No, some Vinod W. I am seeing one name. He's from where? Mr. Vinod?
Hey, he's from Mumbai.
What's his name?
Vinod Wagh. I think.
Vinod?
Vinod Wagh.
Vinod Wagh. Okay. He's not responding. Probably he switched it on. You can see the challenges of e-learning, Mr. Kulkarni. Okay. We'll now adjourn for the day and we'll catch up next week and conclude the session. Okay?
Yes. Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
When I see this adult learning is something different, but it gives a good feeling that I'm addressing a few, nice, interested people. Thank you very much.
Sir, I think because you are showing these AVs videos, I think conceptually we are able to understand it. Now I think it's the application in our mind that we need to think about.
Because this digital transformation needs a lot of supplemental information through audio visuals. Because I used to do a lot of IT programs also. I have trained a lot of executives. They used to say audio visuals reinforces whatever is talked in the class. That is what. So that is why I was also thinking how to take this to this group, because we are all non-technical people. And when technical learning has to be done, a bit of technical, then these kind of audio visuals do help. Thank you very much, friends. It was indeed a pleasure talking.
Thank you, sir.
Agree, sir. Agree.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.